Wonderful. All right, so welcome again, everybody. And thank you for being here for this Cultural Grants Program webinar for all applicants. So it's for both new applicants and returning applicants. It'll be a nice refresher if you are a returning applicant. For those of you who may not know me, my name is Mouna Benboisa. I am an arts associate at the Department of Cultural Affairs Grants Division of the City of Los Angeles. And I am joined today by my fantastic colleague, Brenda Slaughter-Reynolds, Grants Manager. And Brenda can tell you a little bit more about herself when she takes over. Great. On that note, I think that's it. I'm going to turn it over to Brenda for the first part of the webinar, which is all about the guidelines.
Thanks so much, Mouna. Welcome, everybody. Today, we're going to go over the first half of this webinar is going to be an overview of the Cultural Grant Program. And the second half of the webinar, we'll be going over in detail the application itself. And Mouna will lead that portion of the webinar. So today, I'm just going to start with an introduction about the Cultural Grant Program, and then we'll progress to different slides illuminating different parts of the program as we head into the application itself. So the Department of Cultural Affairs Grant Program grants approximately $4.3 million annually to over 370 artists and nonprofit organizations. The department also provides arts and cultural programming in its numerous neighborhood art centers and theaters, and creates several arts education programs for young people. This application is for projects taking place during the time period of July 1st, 2025 to June 30, 2026. So the eligibility for the Cultural Grant Program. Your organization must already be a 501c3 designated nonprofit by the IRS. Your organization must have an arts mission. Organizations without an arts mission, nonprofits are eligible to apply with an arts partner for our outdoor festival category. Organizations are allowed to submit up to 2 proposals, with the requirement being that one of them is for an outdoor festival. All projects must take place within the city limits of the city of Los Angeles. Another key item to highlight is that DCA is not a seed funder or a program funder. So your organization's application must be to repeat a project with DCA funding to make it bigger, better, faster, stronger. New projects aren't eligible for this program. Cultural Grant Program does not fund new ideas, open calls, contests, for-profit ventures, or projects that are year-long in scope. There are 2 different proposal categories for the Department of Cultural Affairs: artistic project and festival parades. Most proposals fall under the artistic project type. These projects revolve around specific and singularly focused artistic disciplines. Artistic proposals involve artists and artist professionals who are engaged in roles commensurate with their skills, talent, and status described in their resumes and biographies. Also considered artistic projects are culture history projects, which promote ideas and accomplishments of past non-living artists, and traditional folk arts projects, which promote public activities and artists whose practice emphasizes an adherence to a tradition rather than an innovation. Artistic projects may also be multidisciplinary in nature, which DCA defines as innovative, transdisciplinary projects which connect and combine living artists in presentations which cannot be adjudicated within DCA's other singularly focused arts discipline panels. And the other category here, our outdoor festival category, is also a very popular category. Please note that we have a very prescriptive definition of an outdoor festival. Festival parade has to be an outdoor event taking place in a single public site over a day, or exclusively supports an outdoor event that'll take place in a single public site, for example, a street, set of adjacent streets, set of sidewalks, single public plaza, over one day or one weekend. Generally, festival projects are annual. Seasonal, quarterly, and monthly may include art walks and the like. DCA further defines festivals in 3 ways: Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3. One note here is that film festivals do not belong in this outdoor festival category. Film festivals are considered for us artistic projects and should apply as an artistic project. So please visit the framework page on our guidelines for more detailed information on how DCA further defines this outdoor festival category. Just another note here for festival applicants. Please note that your annual minimum operating budget must be at least $20,000. And any event with less than 3 separate groups performing is considered to be a concert, a warm-up, and a main act, rather than a festival. Outdoor annual festivals that include the same artists year after year may not be funded. Multi-site events are not eligible in DCA's festival category, but may compete under the discipline with their focus. So that is all to say that our festival category is extremely defined. And as note, please understand the parameters prior to applying to for an outdoor festival. Just one more special note in this festival category: young artists, unpaid performers. In the application, if that is a focus of the outdoor festival, we ask that youth performers be mentioned as a sidebar in any set of application attachments, since DCA funding is proportioned to support adult jobs, whereas learning experiences are a separate category for us. Please also note that festival events with artistic rosters that change less than 29% in participants are not eligible for DCA support. So outdoor festival parades are designated as follow in our applications: 30 to 40% new artists, 41 to 50% new artists, and 51% new artists. And as you see on our screen here, Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3. Tier 1 is for an attendance of fewer than 500 in the prior year of the festival. Tier 2 is for attendance between 500 and 2,000 people. Tier 3 is a festival of more than 2,000 people in attendance. Now we go on to our categories. Yes, Muna?
I want to pause here because I have an interesting question pertaining to attendance from Janaya in the chat. How do you show proof of the number of attendees in a prior year? Well, I know we're going to talk about that in a bit, but just very quickly.
Sure. To address the question, this is a project that's been done before. So without a registration for the festival, for people to attend, your metrics are going to have to rely on, documented evidence through pictures, vendor evidence of sales. There are many ways which you can calculate the attendance at the prior year's event. And so we would ask you to do that in the application. All right, I'm going to move on now to program eligibility. Proposal categories, excuse me. So for Department of Cultural Affairs, we went over the outdoor festival. Now we have 2 other special categories. We have sequential arts and school learning culminating in after-school public events. That's a mouthful, so we call it SailCape. And the other category here is field advocacy and sector learning. So we call that FASL. So the sequential arts and learning culminating in after-school events proposals are for a series of age-appropriate sequential arts learning workshops for youth, as demonstrated through a curriculum you're going to submit with the proposal. And that curriculum is going to align with California art standards, also known as the VAPA standards. And that needs to be included in the proposal. And these workshops are going to culminate in 1 or more public events that take place after school, in the evening or weekend, and are open to the general public. As we all know, public schools are not public spaces. And so these events that are being funded by Department of Cultural Affairs have to have open accessibility to all the public. So please do keep that in mind if you're applying for a sequential arts and learning application. For instance, Muna and I should be able to walk in off the street and go attend the event. So if you think this proposal project is not that, I highly recommend that you relook at the way the program will be presented to the public. So now I'll talk a little more about the field advocacy and sector learning category. These are proposals that seek to support projects involving administrator training, field advocacy, sector marketing, policy dialogues, and cultural equity leadership. This category is not for organizations that curate and fund their own artistic projects. These are more for learning workshops for the sector. You're not hiring artists, you're not producing work. These are field advocates. Okay. I'm going to stay on this slide a little bit because it's quite text heavy, but this goes over our DCA cycle. Everyone is free to apply every year. That being said, we have cycles. We have odd year application deadlines and even year application deadlines. This year is an even year, so our application deadlines address dance, music, theater, multidisciplinary, festivals, parades, and SailCape as on-cycle applicants. So discipline-specific panels are convened for this year, which would create a 2-year cycle in which DCA convenes specific panels for these arts I just mentioned. Odd year applicants who are applying in this even year will have a mixed panel of experts, and that will be eligible for a 1-year score for funding. So odd applicants this year are FASL, design visual, literary, media, trad folk, culture history, festivals, parades with non-arts, performing arts emphasis, and SailCape in non-arts, performing arts. Okay, so successful on-cycle applicants will receive a panel score renewable for a 2nd year. DCA processes 1-year proposals for projects that are repeatable in a 2nd year. It's the panel review score that's held and not the dollar amount of the grant calculated from that score. And this is because the city budget itself changes from year to year. And so the 2nd year amount may not be the same as the 1st year amount, and it's contingent on the city's budget. Another note here is that DCA does not offer 2-year grants. All proposals and budgets should depict one project generally no longer than 6 months, which may be repeated in concept. So let me say that again. In your application, you're not forecasting 2 years of this project. You're forecasting the project to be done this year, and the length of that project for DCA should not be longer than 6 months. If an organization applies to support a project that cannot be repeated in a 2nd term, so this is where further coaching from the staff would be necessary, because we could be alternating so that the panel may review your application accordingly. Any questions here?
I think no questions on the categories, though we might have some in a minute or two.
DCA prioritizes the creative workers, creative economy. Proposals should estimate artists to be local, including arts managers. National and international artists are acceptable, but they shouldn't be the entire proposal. But as we get closer to working with international groups for the Olympics, we certainly are open to those applications. Free and low cost applies to the people showing up to your project and the culminating event, not the cost of producing the event. So we're going to get into that cost per head calculation later when Muna goes over the application in detail. Overhead to include in your budget is expected and normal, but please make sure it's no more than 20% of your artistic project proposal. By naming the theme, the site, and the relative dates of your activities. This is going to help you determine what expenses are truly needed to stabilize your progress in advance of the free or low cost and publicity needed to access the activities, which are the focus of your application narrative. So if your project is going to tour in multiple city council districts, you should consider asking Department of Cultural Affairs to fund 50% of your locations and strategize on the districts that are historically least served, as I mentioned before, arts underserved. Be thoughtful about the council district boxes in your proposal. Don't dilute the application by including all the council districts your organization or your program serves. This is perhaps if your program goes year long, you're going to ask Department of Cultural Affairs to fund 2 events in the least served council districts. So if you have a larger program, in order to fit it into our cultural grant program, we do ask that you be very specific with your request, and having all of these elements in the application will greatly help the panel understand your project and the request for funding. So, for instance, if your organization does 8 concerts, you might want to think about asking Department of Cultural Affairs to fund 3 of your concerts you want to provide for free in the North Valley. X amount of dollars for 3 concerts taking place in council districts 3, 6, and 7, to give you an example. So getting into council districts, this is the city of Los Angeles right here, way up, way down. Big elephant ear is like what we call it at the office, Department of Cultural Affairs. So this is getting into the project location. So location, location, location. It matters for Department of Cultural Affairs as we strive to support public benefit art services in all 15 council districts. One scoring criteria used to reach the necessary council districts is the site of your organization's project. And for this, we have a priority on arts underserved council districts. So let me go over those for you. Arts underserved districts that deserve more art services are council districts 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 11. Arts moderately served council districts are 1, 2, 4, 10, and 15. Arts generously served council districts, for which there will be no geographic scoring, are 5, 13, and 14. Please be sure to double check the council district for your project by using the neighborhood finder site that we have in the application. It's also available on our website, and it's again linked in our guidelines. More information on our interactive map and the neighborhood finder address is right there. neighborhoodinfo.lacity.org. Another element, and a very important one to the application, is the SMU Data Arts Report. Please note these reports need to be of your 2 most recent fiscal years. DCA requires all small, mid-sized, large, and extra-large organizations to submit these 2 most recent years of data in the Data Arts Report. And from there, once you've completed your Data Arts Report, you're going to create a funder report that's DCA specific and upload that to your application. This information is going to play a key factor when calculating the allowable grant requests, and it also assists the panelists with providing them a robust picture of your financials and your audience. So in your funder report, you're going to see a line that says revenue less in kind. That is going to be used to calculate your organization's operating budget, and ergo from there, the mathematical calculation to what you'll be able to ask for a project proposal, and then for half of that project funding. COVID has caused a lot of ups and downs, and please know that DCA and the panelists understand the nuances and the large-scale issues that the pandemic has played for all arts organizations. So please report your most recent years in your data report. Old information isn't useful, and it might even hurt your application. This is how we break down our budget categories. As you'll see, starting at the top, large, extra large is 10 million or greater. Mid-sized, operating budget is greater than 75,000, and the request is capped at 40,000. Small organizations may request 20% up to a cap of 10,000, but it can't be any more. All grant requests are no more than 50% of your project budget. As a reminder, these are reimbursable matching grants. Therefore, you're going to show the matching funding in your application, specifically in your project budget. And you're going to understand also that these are reimbursable grants and that will be paid out once they are invoiced for. Moving down to emerging arts organizations are exempt from completing the data arts. That is a requirement that we do not ask of our emerging organizations, and that is organizations with an operating budget of less than $20,000. If you are an emerging organization, this would lead to limitations when applying for an outdoor festival parade. So if that's what you have in mind, please do call the office, email us, talk to us about how we may be able to assist with a successful application for you. The final category here, festivals, parades. This category tells us the amount of funding per tier and also with the required attendance to reach that tier. So you're going to estimate a realistic one-to-one non-city match for this grant request. And matching funding can come from cash, in-kind donations, combination of cash and in-kind. Can also be any other funders outside of the city, could include county, state, federal, foundation, other philanthropic, corporate funding to be the match for this grant. Next, we're going to go on how to apply. So as we get there, pretty soon Moon is going to go over the application in detail with us. So it's going to be this drop down here on our website. If you haven't already visited, I would get very familiar with the information in all of these drop downs. Very helpful as you go through the application process, in addition to attending this webinar today. And I thank you for your time for doing that. Let's go over the timeline now. So here we are at step 1. And if you don't have a SurveyMonkey account, you can register and create one in that apply dropdown. Step 2, you're going to submit the electronic application by August 30th. You're going to fill it out and submit it online, and it'll come directly to the grants department. You'll also get an email verifying your submission. The next step is to print a hard copy of the completed application, sign certification form, and mail it to our offices postmarked by September 3rd. Oh, I'm sorry. That's a typo. I apologize. September 3rd. The next step is going to be a long time from when you submit it. We have to audit the proposals, the panels have to adjudicate the proposals, and then the city budget has to be finalized. Once the city budget is finalized, we're then able to make award announcements, and you'll be notified of the results of your application. And to that end, applications that are moved forward to funding will have projects starting July 1st, 2025, and have until June 30, 2026 to complete those projects. This is our information. We are available to you. We are not a funder that doesn't like to talk to people who are interested in applying for our grant programs. Please feel free to reach out to us at any point. Please also note we are very busy and we will get back to you as soon as possible if you don't reach us right away. Okay, and with that, I'm going to stop sharing this contact information and hand it over to Muna, who is going to lead us through the application specifically and show us how it works.
Perfect. Yes, this is the second part of our webinar today. It's a deep dive into the SurveyMonkey application. So we'll go over all the sections, and I hope this is going to be very helpful to you. So I'm also going to share my screen. Give me just a second while I do that. I go back to the guidelines. And if you go on the guidelines, if you go on the apply section, you are directed to instructions, and from there, you'll have the link to the SurveyMonkey application. So you'll click on that link. And it takes you to the SurveyMonkey apply platform. And if you don't have an account, the first thing you need to do is to register. So you'll click on that green button there and you'll register. Please be mindful that, as you know, we talked about that the Cultural Grants Program is only for 501c3 nonprofits organizations. So when you register, you click on register as an organization. Okay, and then you'll create your account. Now, for those of you who already have an account, you'll only need to log in, and that's what I'm going to do. So if you log in and then you click on programs, and then you see the Cultural Grant Program for this year, but you do not see the apply button, you're going to have to go to the upper left, and you'll see that you have two accounts, one as an individual artist person, and the other one is your organization account. So you want to click on the organization account, okay? Because now you'll be able to see that green apply button, okay? So again, before you call us, do try that. Most of the time, that's what the issue is. So I'm going to go back on my application. As I said, we created a dummy application so that we can play with and show you during the webinar in detail. So here you can see these are all the sections of the application. So you need to complete all these sections before you can submit the application. As you can see here, the gray circle, you have a gray circle here. It designates a section that has not been completed, in contrast to the checked mark that indicates that a section has been completed. You also have here the half moon icon, which tells you that the section has been started, but not marked as completed. So same here, at the end, you'll need to have, this section checked as completed. Okay, so we're going to start here with the first part of the proposal, the application. This is the biggest part. This is the meatiest part. Here we provide you with a PDF of all the proposal questions, and we do recommend you take a look at those questions in the PDF. You can even use it. You can even use the PDF to answer the question, as a draft, and you can, it's always good to have. That way, you have another copy, not just in the application. So just click here, on the preview, and it'll take you to that PDF with all the proposal questions. Great. So let's start off with the organization grant proposal. It consists of three parts. The first part, it's some basic information from your organization, about your organization. The second part is the narrative. So your project description, it's really the narrative questions. And the third part is the numbers, your project budget. Here, this is the first part, which is the basic or information about your organization. For example, the first one is your official IRS name. Please enter it in all caps and go back to your IRS letter saying that you are a tax-exempt nonprofit organization and enter the exact same name. Very important here that you enter the exact same name as in your IRS letter here. Under, you can enter your popular name if it is different from your official IRS name. Then some basic information like your address, the city, the zip code, your mailing address, then the contact person, the primary contact person. We've also given you the option to add an alternate contact person. Just, sometimes we know that people may depart from organizations. And so to make sure that if you are selected for funding, to make sure that you receive news about the grant award, we've added this option this year. If you have a website, please include it here. Okay, then we have proposal preparation. Did you attend an in-person grants workshop? Did you attend a live online grants webinar? So since you are here today, please click on that one. And as Brenda said, thank you for being with us. You definitely will click on that, participated in live online grants webinar. And next, you're going to select your project type. Most of you here today are going to be selecting artistic project. This is the majority of the proposal we receive. And then we have all the categories that Brenda went over in the first part. Sail Cape, FASL, the outdoor festival with the tier. So tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3. I know we had some questions in the chat about the roster. If you are proposing for a project for an outdoor festival. So you'll see here that we want to see new artists, not the only repeated artist. So you'll just indicate, am I going to have 30 to 40% new artists this year, next year, 41 to 50%, 51% or more. You'll just indicate that.
Sorry, Muna, if I could just also add, we understand some artists return year after year to festivals. We're just asking to show the new roster and to show us that this festival is continuing to reach its audience with new artists, new acts.
Yes, exactly. And to go back to the artistic project, if you select artistic project, you'll also be asked to select the discipline. Here so dance, design, visual arts, literary media, music, theater, all the ones marked with a star are the ones on cycle. And this is, the discipline you are choosing is going to influence into what kind of panel you get adjudicated in and whether we can consider your proposal to be on cycle or not. Okay.
If you're not sure of your discipline or your category, please call us. Please note that these are very important items in the application, and we want to have you have a successful application. So if you're in doubt, please reach out and ask us.
Definitely, always reach out if you're not sure. Okay. Question C is about the budget size of your organization and your grant request. First, budget size. This is, your data arts will really give you a sense of what your budget category is here. And there's some overlap, as you can see, for example, between small arts budget organization and mid-sized budget organization. There's some overlap because we want you to choose, you know. Okay, then we have the grant amount request. This is where you're gonna enter the grant amount that you request for DCA funding. Please use our tool, the DCA's allowable grant request calculator, to determine your grant request. It's a common application pitfall here that we see some grant requests, grant amount requests that are completely fantastical and that do not adhere to our guidelines, instructions, and requirements. So very important that you use that tool. You're going to click, you know, yes, I have completed the Data Arts Funders report if, you know, you are not an emerging organization. And then you're going to enter your total cash revenue, less in kind, for your organization's most recently completed Data Arts.
And this number should match what I just spoke to on your Data Arts report, revenue less in kind. So during our staff audit, we do make sure that these numbers align.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Very easy question. This one, impact of proposed project. Please select two that describe, you know, what the decision is. It community dialogues, lifelong learning, cultural arts job, free or low cost social activities. You can select two here. Then you're gonna enter here where your organization is headquartered. So it can be one of the 15 council districts of the city of LA or elsewhere in LA County. For example, Santa Monica, Pasadena, Altadena, Culver City, that works. However, here you are going to select one of the 15 council districts of the city of LA, because, you know, we are a city funder, so we want the services to take place within the city of LA. We recommend that you select one or two or three or four, but a maximum of 4 choices. Please be thoughtful. We want you to be thoughtful about the council district that you select. If you have online services, then you can click all here. I'll flag that even if you have online services, they need to be produced within the city of LA. So for example, if you are recording a dance performance, I don't know if this is the best example because, as Brenda said, we highly prioritize and encourage in-person performances. But it would need to be, you know, it would need to take place in the city of LA and be broadcast from the city of LA.
Yes, sometimes people like to live stream their events now.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be something where you would click that box.
Exactly. Okay. Projects start and end dates. You know by now that the allowable window is July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2026. But please don't enter those. Please tell us exactly what the timeline is. Even if you don't know exactly yet, give us an approximation, give us what you think it will be, you know, when your event will start and when it will end. Next, enter some numbers about the impact of proposed services. Enter the estimated number of projects participants. So those are your artists, your volunteers, a participant in workshops, and then the estimated number of audience members. Those are, you know, the people attending the culminating event or your festival. So important numbers here. The next category, you're going to select a few. For example, am I going to be serving some low-income families or person as part of the project, as well as some parents and guardians with children? you can select, you can tell us that here. It'll be very interesting for the panels to have that information. And I just want to go back a little bit here for the project start and end dates. The majority of the project DCA proposed for DCA funding are going to take place within 3 to 6 months. They should take place no longer than 9 months, as written here. Very important. And if it's a festival, it's going to be maybe just 1 day or.
Yes, Brenda? We have a question. If workshop attendees are also audience members, do we list their numbers in both places?
If workshop attendees are also audience members,
I would say no, because that's double counting them.
Yes.
You want to count each person one time.
I agree. Please select the category in which you want to count them.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we are ready to move on to the next section, sorry. When you complete the application, please make sure you often save it. So you click on save, okay? And here it tells me, oh, the form contains error. So let's go ahead and correct that. There might be some information missing. And yes, it's telling me here that I have not indicated the roster of artists. So I'm just going to do that. And then now we should be able to move to the next part of the organizational narrative grants proposal. Okay, so the second part is the narrative. Very specific questions. And again, I recommend you prepare all these responses in advance, preferably in a Word document, so you can take advantage of all these copy editing tools. The first question is mission purpose of applicants. And you'll see that this question has a sort of a sun icon. And a few questions here have also this icon. What it means is that these questions are questions that a range of municipal funders include in their grant proposals. For example, Pasadena, West Hollywood also include these questions in their proposals. So you can use your responses in the proposals if you like, in all these proposals.
Yes, most of the municipal funders in the Southern California region have agreed to these 7 questions. So to ease the burden of applicants who would be applying to more than one program.
Exactly. Okay, so the mission, the purpose of your organization, this is a very crucial question for us. This is how we verify that you are an arts mission, arts-focused organization. And also it's typically very short and it should be your board approved mission statement. Of course, if you are proposing an outdoor festival and you are not an arts organization, that's okay, because you are going to show us that you're partnering with an arts expert or arts organization. History programming, please give us some context. If you have a long history, please tell us that. What have been some changes that happened in the past few years? What are some of your most major accomplishments? Please use that section to brag. Don't hesitate. The panel will love to have that context. Then we move on to planning and leadership. Here it's more about the future. Where do you want to be in the next few years? How do you see yourself in the near future? What are some things you'd like to achieve? So you can, talk about that in this part.
Sorry, Mina, we have a couple of questions.
Yes, let's take some time for questions here.
If I'm doing performances where we see free seats for low-income youth and other marginalized communities, are we eligible? Yes, you are eligible, and we love that prioritizing, and we do want to have all events free or low cost. So we applaud that. Next question, are festival parade projects required to provide the roster of artists for the upcoming event or the current event? What the proposal is going to be is for an upcoming event taking place July 1st, 2025 through June 30, 2026. So the event is going to take place during that grant period. And yes, the roster would be required element of the application. Another question here, what dollar amount do you consider low cost?
Oh,
You
that's
wanna
a
take
great
that one, Mona?
question. That's true. That's a good question. So, DCA considered low cost, the average cost of a movie theater ticket, so around $25 or less. If it's less, it's even better. If it's free, also great. But this is what we consider low cost. So, yeah, think about your movie theater ticket. It's still $25. That's low cost to us. If it's more than 25, that's starting to be problematic for DCA. So that's the cost of your ticket, and we'll talk about later. We'll talk about the cost per head, which is different.
Yes.
So make sure you don't confuse those as well.
Thanks,
Any
Mona.
other Sure. Any other question before we continue?
No, but I think it'll be important to highlight cost per head as we go through, so people can understand what it costs to attend the event is very different from the calculation of what it costs the organization to produce the event.
Exactly. Definitely. We'll spend some time on that. Great. So let's continue with your narrative questions then. This is a section about your community, your core audience. So what is the audience, the community that you serve? Give us some details about geography, age, cultural and economic characteristics, how you identify your community needs and how you are going to meet those needs here. It's also a great section to for the panelists, because it provides a lot of information. So don't hesitate to be detailed. Artistic policy. Here you tell us how your organizations make the artistic decisions. Is it one voice, just one voice that is at the top and that makes all the artistic decisions, or is it more collectively? Is it a panel process? Do tell us all this information here as well. All right, part 3 of the project narrative. We have the project description. Here, this is where you tell us what exactly you are going to do with DCA funding. And as you can see here in italics, we've given you sort of a model to follow to describe your proposed projects. For example, you can say we're seeking DCA support to produce and present 3 educational workshops and 2 public culminating concerts. So this is just an example, but this is a great model to follow to describe your proposed projects. In this section, please, elements to include are your venues, the timeline. For example, you can say, oh, my project is going to take place in the fall of 2026. The topics and themes of your project. What are the topics and themes that you are going to explore, and how they relate to your target audience? It's great if you can make the link. Don't be vague, be specific. That's super important here. And again, be detailed, but be concise, be concise, use dry language, because there is a 3,000 characters limit. So please be thoughtful about what you're including here.
Mona, I have one quick question for you. We have a question regarding materials submitting. So Philip is asking, We will have an event after the deadline, and I'm assuming that's the application deadline, but before July 1st, 2025. Can I still apply using my most recent event, but it won't be the event immediately prior to the event we're requesting funds for?
Great question, Philip. Yes, that's totally fine. If you had an event you did last year, that should be the one you use for any metrics. We understand that the application will come before your 2024 event. So do tell us about your 2023 events. That's not a problem. As long as you've done it once, that's your most recent project, of course.
Yes, and I would piggyback on that, Mona, and just say that any additional information you can provide about how the event happening in 2024 is going to be new, better, different, I would include that information, since you must already know your roster and other elements.
Great point.
Okay, thanks, Mona.
Sure. So I think we left it here. All right, so this is a little bit related to what we just talked about. Based on prior outcomes and outputs of prior related project, please forecast feasible impact. Tell us about attendance that you expect, participants. Tell us about the qualitative and quantitative tools you are going to use to demonstrate that your project is successful. Give us metrics here. So this is really about what your expected impact is. And this is also a very important section. This is also the section where you can justify if you have a high cost per head. Again, we'll talk about high cost per head in a moment when we go over the budget. You can justify the higher cost per head here because you are talking about the impact that you are going to have. This is the part 4, staff and artists. Provide short biographies of key staff and or artists. It's not necessarily just your full-time staff, but it's also the planned roster of artists, creative workers that are going to be working on that project. So it can be independent contractors, people who are going to receive honoraria, and add as many as you want. We've given you like a couple of sections, but if you'd like to add more members, simply click yes, and you can add more information. All right, so that brings us to the end of the narrative section of your proposal.
I would just like to add that please don't be shy on these bios. These show the quality of artists that the project is engaging. These show the experience of the artists, and also include as many of the paid artists as possible.
Exactly. Great. So we're going to save. And actually, we're going to click next to, and that brings us to the final section of this, the final part of this section, which is the numbers section, the budget, your project budgets. So for the budget, you're going to show us the total amount it costs to produce your project, and you're going to show us the revenues, and those numbers should be equal. All right. You can see here that we've given you the opportunity to include budget notes. Please use this opportunity. Please include as many budget notes as possible that you can. Your contributed income. So this is part B. And line 21 is very important. So this is where you enter your LA DCA grant request. And as you remember, we asked you that before. You enter it here again. It should be the same number. And please please write a budget note, LA, DCA grant request, or request for request from DCA. Okay, very important that you include that here. Otherwise, that doesn't make sense. And we have a red line here reminding you of that. Line 21, government city below should match the value you entered as your DCA grant request listed previously. So we do have that line reminding you of that. Okay, so that was for, in contributed income, earned revenue, and then you can detail here, your corporate foundation, government contributions as well. Then you have the expenses. Let's see here. This is where you show, among others, the artists that you're going to pay. For example, here, if you can show us that the DCA funding is going to cover some of the, the payments for artists. We love to see that. The panelists love to see that.
So can I also mention, Muna, that budget notes are really appreciated here. Performers right here in line 9, $25,000. You can break that down further by saying $10,000 for 10 musicians at 20 hours at X rate.
Exactly.
5 actors at 20 hours at X rate. So the more detail, the better. Don't be shy here on breaking it down.
Exactly. And as you can see, we've entered, many budget notes here. For example, there are some expenses that DCA cannot cover. Food, insurance, but we understand that they can be part of your match, as this is a matching grant. So again, tell us in the budget note, if you have like catering and hospitality, you can say this will be covered by the matching funds. That way you don't leave the panel wondering if you knew that or not. You show that you read the guidelines and are going to adhere to the guidelines, and it makes a really good impression on the panel. Okay, so we have the grand total expenses, we have the grand total income, then we have the grand total expenses. And now let's talk about cost per head. So after you filled out your project budget, and again, that's your project budget, that shouldn't be your operational budget, that shouldn't be your program budget. We are a project funder, so it should only be the budget of the proposed project, okay? So after filling out your project budget, SurveyMonkey gives you a cost per head, which is the grand total expenses that you see here, and you divide it by the number of total participants and audience members, which you entered in the previous section. The cost per head that you see here would be a red flag for DCA and for panelists. It's a very, 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 very high cost per head. Typically, a thrifty cost per head is, what would we say, Brenda?
Well, for a festival, it's going to be quite low, right? Because the engagement is not as deep as a 10-session, 5-hour per session workshop with youth, right? This is a very high cost per head for a festival. That would give us a red flag to look into how the budget is allocated. Remember, no more than 20% of the budget should be overhead. You want to make sure that your artist payments are specific and highlighted. You're going to revisit this budget prior to submitting this application because there may be a typo in you may have added an extra 0. So if you're thinking that the organization can afford to produce a project that's $420 per head, that may not be best aligned for a DCA project. And we want you to understand that we're a small, thrifty municipal funder, and that festival cost per head really comes in less than $10 a head.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, as I said, the cost per head can go up with deeper engagement. And as long as that engagement is substantiated through the narrative responses and other artists shown doing the work, that's acceptable. We like to fund big, small, medium, all kinds of events and offerings to the public at a free or low cost. So we want to understand that your organization is cognizant of what it really costs to produce these events. And to that end, DCA really encourages a thrifty cost per head in addition to a free or low cost ticket to attend.
Great. Yeah. So with such a high cost per head here calculated, I would need to revisit my math. Okay.
So Muna, we have a quick question on that as we revisit the math. What is a reasonable cost per head for a 10-event multidisciplinary arts series?
For what kind of event, Brenda?
10-event multidisciplinary arts series. So maybe we need a little more information. Does this take place in a gallery? Is this for a seated audience? What is the audience? So
yeah, what is
we
the
could
impact going to be on the audience? We do need more information. Yeah.
Yeah, so 10 events is an awful lot, right? That might be considered a program. So for the 10 events, you may want to ask Department of Cultural Affairs to fund 2 of those that you're offering as free student matinees or other events to reach public that otherwise wouldn't be able to attend arts and cultural services. So yes, you can apply for part of your event instead of the entire event, and we're encouraging you to do that. To that end, the budget needs to be proportionate to the ask. Sorry, Muna, go ahead.
No, very, very, very good question. Good point. And yeah, all these are gonna, be taken into account for the cost per head. Okay, I do want us to move on to the next section for because there is more to be completed. But once you've done that, you've done the biggest part. You've provided the narrative, and that's already the biggest part of the application. All right, so I'm gonna click next, and I should mark it as complete because now it is complete. Great, that's done. And now I have the checked mark, so which is satisfying. The next section is the Data Arts Funder report. Here, this is where we ask you to upload a copy of your SMU Data Arts. And I'm gonna show you here how to do that. So let me switch to slideshow. Oops. All right, so this is a SMU Data Arts. We have a link available in our guidelines. You click on it, and then you'll have to create an account if you don't have one already. And this is what it'll look like when you'll fill out, all the information that is being asked of you. And then to go to the report, you'll click on Funder Reports and Grants. You'll have to enter some keywords to find, the Department of Cultural Affairs. So type Cultural Affairs, find, and then you'll see City of Los Angeles Department of Cultural Affairs for the second one here. You'll click on View, and then it'll show you that your the report. Click on View Reports. It is here, and then click again, and here it will generate the most recent data arts. And it shows, it will show you that it's the right one, the one that we want, because it has the DCA logo at the top right corner. And please make sure that it is the DCA logo and not another agency's logo, because this is a common application pitfall. Sometimes we see that. And so something to check is that, you generated the report from the City of LA, for the City of LA Department of Cultural Affairs, and you have the logo here. Great. So then you'll click on PDF and you'll have it. So once you have it, you go back to the application and you'll upload your PDF here. If you have any variances to explain, which, with the COVID years, we know that many organizations do have some. So you have an opportunity to explain the variances here. Right? So that's completed. Once you've completed the DARs, you only need to submit the PDF, so very easy. The next section is optional, but it's always good to take advantage of optional sections, and you can upload a snapshot of your organization's current budget. And again, if you have variances, they can be explained here as well. Next, an easy one. This is where you upload your IRS letter showing that your organization is 501c3 tax exempt organization. So here, that section was marked as not complete. So I'm going to have to attach the file, which I'm going to do right now. There we go. And it's uploading very quickly. And then I click on Mark as complete. And that's done. Next is the list of your organization's board of directors. I've uploaded it here. Please be mindful here that please do not use one that you have already. I know you may have one already prepared, but we're asking you to use this template, the worksheet, which is a simple Excel worksheet, but it's a template. You just have to fill it out, and once it's completed, you upload it. Very important that you use this one. Okay. So that was the list of board of directors. Then we have artistic samples. All right, so here you have a couple of options. The artistic samples are very important. They demonstrate the artistic quality of your organization, of the artists you work with. You can include either 10 static images or 3 links, 3 URLs. And it can be a YouTube, if you use links, it can be a YouTube link, it can be a Vimeo link. And you also have, you can describe what it is, what you are what you're wanting to show the panel. Panelists love the artistic sample section. This is where, again, not only you can show the quality of your organization, but artistic merit, but you can also show the engagement with your audience. For example, you can show a teaching artist in action. You can show a talk back with the audience after a performance. If you include links to YouTube videos, Vimeos, especially, please make sure that they are not password protected, because you want the panel to be able to view them. We don't recommend including marketing videos. This is not really what is going to show the quality of your artist, as well as the audience engagement. And one last thing, our panelists won't spend more than 5-7 minutes on the artistic samples. So be thoughtful about the length of your artistic samples. If you're including a long video, you might want to add the start time and end time that for the panelists, so that they watch what you want them to see.
So Muna, I just want to be mindful of everyone's time. We're nearing the end of the application, so please do remain with us to finish the application.
You can stick with us. We're nearing the end of the proposal, and the sections are much faster. So, okay, so that was the artistic samples. Then you have an opportunity to add supplementary materials here. We're asking you to upload the project location, the name, it's a document which should include the name of the venue or venues if you have several, the address, the council district, the name and title of your contact person, and the number of years you have presented work at this site, so that you show us, that you've had a long partnership with this venue, and the audience capacity for the site. So it's a document, you just upload it. Then we also ask you to upload the list of prior period artists, so refer back to your previous year and what are the artists you paid. Give us a quick biography here. It doesn't have to be a very long one here. And yeah, just give us some information. You can read that paragraph. It gives you more information. Then recent press material, please upload that too. It's basically an outside voice that covered your project, and it should be independent journalism. So if you have an article in the press that talked about your project, a magazine that also did a highlight on your project, on a past project, on your organization. It can also be if you don't have some press material, you can use a testimonial from a participant if you really don't have some press material. Attachment D. Oh, Brenda, go ahead.
I was just going to say that answers Lenore's question. If they don't have any press, yes, there are alternatives to upload for that specific question.
Yeah, exactly. Attachment D, this is where you are going to upload curriculum and lesson plans if you are, proposing a SailCare project, or if you're proposing an artistic project or FASL project that involves some public skill building workshops. In this case, my proposal does not involve a curriculum, so I clicked on that. All right, 2 other documents that you can upload. Those are optional, but it's important that you take advantage of them. So even if they're marked as optional, we really encourage you to upload these documents. The first one is a list of your non-arts partners. So the social service agencies you've been working with, and the interest group as well that you've been working with and are going to work with for this project. So that's the first document. The second document is a letter of recommendation. Very important. Again, this is something that the panelists love to read. It really gives them an idea of the impact, and how you collaborate as well. If the letter comes from a partner, a sponsor, do take advantage, please, of these 2 documents upload. All right. Now that we've come to the end of this section, I'm going to mark it as complete. And 2 more things before we can submit the application. The first one is the estimated metrics form. Just, it's just give us some information, some demographics information. This is more for us, right, Brenda, for internal.
Yes, this comes directly to the staff. It is not widely distributed.
Great. And then, yes. And then we asking you also to complete a quick evaluation form, about if you participated, whether or not in a workshop. If so, please complete the date. And how would you rate your experience with the DCA grant application process? Do you have any feedback? We do use your feedback, to improve the application process every year whenever we can. So thank you for completing completing that. All right, folks, we've come to the end of the application of the proposal. Thank you for sticking with us. As you can see now, all my sections have the checked icon mark. And now these two documents used to be gray, but now you can click on them. Highly encouraging you to review everything before you submit the application, of course, to proofread your application, look for typos, any errors. Make sure you've taken advantage of all the uploads you can. So do review everything, and then you'll click on submit here. You'll confirm the submission of your application. And it'll tell you that your application is submitted. From there, you'll receive an email confirmation that your application is submitted, and we'll also, with some information on also how to mail your DCA, mail your copy, your held copy to DCA. And again, the postmark deadline is September 3rd, 2024. So yes, that brings us to the end of the application sections. I'm going to stop here so that we can answer all your questions. Thank you, everybody.